Was the food a disaster over there, like people are saying online, or was that overblown? Like, how was that situation?
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. We tried to make the best of it. But yeah, like it was like the meat was either like really, really dried or it was like really fatty meat. There was one time I was standing in line and I think it was like a Ukrainian guy in front of me. I can't remember, but there's like a young Chinese man behind serving it. And they were like, he's like wraps and he's trying to find out what the meat is that's inside. So he's like, what is the meat? What is the meat? And then like the guy was like, I don't know what you're saying, right? And he like looks at him, he goes, quack, quack, quack. And I'm behind here and I just burst out laughing. So then like the young guy behind the counter bursts out laughing. And then he's like, yeah, like it's a duck. It's duck meat. But like I thought it was like the funniest thing. I'm like, this is how we now communicate what the mystery meat is. It's
yeah,
like just make them.
Still better than Subway.
I thought you were going to say that even the guy didn't know what the meat was. Yeah. That's like, that's China. We're not sure.
So luckily he knew. But yeah, then we got into the conversation with the girls, like, are all animal noises the same in every single country? Or like, are they different? Good question.
That's an interesting, but if you do this, you got to know it's a duck.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily he knew. And then he started dying laughing too. And he could barely serve me, but it worked out.
As far as when you guys were at the Olympics, were you guys at least to be together when you were there, or were you just quarantined beforehand? Like, because I know you said you guys were doing a lot of these Zoom calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was beforehand. So we were in a bubble in Calgary before we left. So we had a lot of Zoom calls there. But then once we were in the village, like we were obviously allowed to go. We were, COVID tested every day. We had to wear masks. Like you still have to wear masks around the village, but we were allowed to be around our team and even around like. At first, when the guys came in, we weren't allowed to be around like any of the guys' hockey players. But then once they were there for a few days, like when people started coming in, like kind of gave them a few days and then we were allowed to hang out more.
You just mentioned the team. We haven't even gotten to the game yet. You ladies tore through the Olympics. You went 7-0. Sarah got you guys on the board. You ladies on the board early. 3-0 lead. Going in that third period, it was 3-1. Were you kind of like nervous at that point? Did you know you had it? What was the attitude in the locker room going into that third period?
You know what? We were feeling pretty good. I think we prepared so much for these games. Like we had gone through every single scenario pretty much in all the games leading up to it, that we knew like we had an awesome PK. We called our PK the power kill because they were that good. We had a really good power play. So we were just like, let's, keep the pedal to the metal and keep going. Obviously they, got another one, but then with 12 seconds, we were like, we can hold on to this. And I think we just felt pretty confident. We had been creating so much offense through the tournament and just kept rolling.
So obviously that quote that you had before the game amplified right before, the gold medal game. Like what made you say it? Did you even realize you said it? Like, did it make you a little bit more nervous and add pressure? I asked Sarah Nurse the same thing and she said it didn't affect her at all.
It affected me, Biz.
Oh. I don't even remember exactly when I said it. I hadn't been interviewed in a few days. So I was like, I'm not sure where this came from, but, like looking back, like we have the most respect for the American players. They're obviously the team we want to be playing against. They're so skilled. Like they're the reason why we're as good as we are because they push us every day to be better. Right. Like after they beat us in 2018, it was like, we got a job to do here and like, let's get better. And it's always in the back of your mind. So I think really maybe why I said that is because we wanted to put on such a dominant performance, just to make sure that we've obviously gone to overtimes and shootouts with them in the past. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't ever going to put ourselves in that, scenario again. Like we needed to get the job done in regulation.
And then obviously you end up scoring that first goal and probably alleviating a lot of the pressure off yourself for that quote. And then they ended up taking it back. Like what was the feeling on the bench when they said, no goal?
Yeah, obviously like super exciting, but early on in the game, we knew we still, could keep pushing and just to keep the energy up. And Nursey like looked at me and was like, sorry for going offside. I was like, don't worry. She's like, I owe you one. And she literally went out, I think it was like 40 seconds later and scored. So I was like, sweet, thanks.
We're good now. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.